Let's go ahead and start. And I know I know some of you have been with us for the whole tour. This is our eighth and final gathering of Eve Marco's series on aging, and it's been wonderful. Uh, Anybody who is here for the first time, or if you missed some of them, I want to remind you on the Zen Peacemakers website, they're all recorded. And if you go, there's a pull down, I think it says media or media library, something like that. And you can go to the video section and you can find them. And I believe we have them grouped together, so they're easy to find. So if you'd like to see them again, or if you missed any of them, please take advantage of that. And I will continue to let folks in, but let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass over to my friend Eve, and with my sincere gratitude for all of the work and planning and thought and heart and energy that Eve put into this. It's really been wonderful. And so Eve, thank you, and I'll mute myself and step back.
Yeah, thank you, Geoff. Good afternoon, everyone. My time in New England, in the US. Yeah, my volume is at the maximum. If you have trouble, let me know. Hearing me. I just, following Geoff, I want to take just a few minutes first to thank you, because as I have told everyone, and especially students or successors, whenever you teach or facilitate or lead, you're the one who learns more than anybody. And it's certainly true for me here. I have learned so much from all of you, and I'm grateful to all of you for being my teachers here. So thank you. I also want to take a couple of minutes for us to just sit and contemplate how lucky we are, how fortunate we are. We are aging, and if we had been gone a lot earlier, there's a lot of things we would be missing. We would be missing, I have icicles hanging outside my window. We would be missing the big mounds of snow and ice that are outside, missing all the finches gathered around the bird. I would be missing the squirrels. I would be missing the fun of seeing dogs playing in snow. And a little later on, I will be missing as the first flowers try to make their way up from the frozen ground. I would be missing, my kind of grandson, step grandson, and his face looking at me. I would be missing phone calls from such dear friends. I would be missing my day's retreat that will happen this Saturday. All that I would be missing if I wasn't aging. Really, think of what you would be missing. So let's just take a couple of minutes to just sit with that and maybe even congratulate yourself and all of us on the fact that we are aging. Okay, thank you. So as Geoff said, today's our last session. It's really a good one, certainly a good one for me, looking at our face in the mirror, especially in the morning, every single day. And underneath it, I wrote, okay, get up in the morning and look in the mirror. Come on, you can do this. Or can't you, maybe? Who or what is staring back? Do you recognize that face? Is it yours or someone else's? So turn on the light and see, see, see. We're going to do some of that today. It's something really to look forward to. This is our last gathering. So I want to also, in addition to thanking you for coming, I want to really thank Geoff and Chloe, who's not here, I guess, today. But they put a lot of work to support this. And then there's a lot of work to convert it into a file that you can see again in the media library. So, Geoff, I'm so grateful to you for your beautiful presence here. And please convey that to Chloe. And again, to all of you, I want to say, please support Zen Peacemakers that offers this for free to you. That's really quite something. And it's in the spirit of the best Buddhist tradition to just give away and give away and give away everything we have. And I'm happy that this is being done this way, but it does depend on gifts, just like the old monks depended on gifts. Otherwise, they couldn't live. Okay. So in the spirit of this particular session, rather than looking for an outside song, I asked David Levy to either improvise around that theme, I believe, David, or basically play us some music arising out of that theme for him. Would you do that, David?
Yes, thank you, Eve. Hello, everyone. So I'll be improvising, and it's from reading the information from Eve. And it struck me as I was sitting with these words that though it's improvised, I know the title. And the title is My Favorite Upaguru. And Upaguru, as I understand, is someone who is a teacher, very often nearby in our life, who, among other things, is supporting us in our journey from darkness into light. And also, and this is sort of closer to home for me, Upaguru, in a sense, seems to be someone who is pushing our buttons. So providing us with a lot of opportunity to learn. So with the idea of in the morning gazing into the mirror, my favorite Upaguru.
Thank you very much for that, David. I'm reminded again of what a friend of mine says to me. He's very active, in great shape, and he says, I'm just feeling great. And then he adds the words, as long as I avoid mirrors, I feel just fine. Yeah, I know how she feels. And I've shared with you, I think last time, that I found myself in my bathroom with this long mirror, that when I went from the sink to the shower, I would avert my head from the mirror so that I didn't have to see myself without clothes walking into the shower. And so that taught me what a powerful practice it is to look at the mirror. Look at the mirror. And why specifically at our faces? Not just really our faces, but our faces represent, show, not represent, exhibit, show our lived experience. That's what it shows, man. Your lived experience, my lived experience. It's like a movie, our face. It's magnificent. And in some ways, to feel comfortable with it, to feel at ease with it, lets us finally become ourselves. Ourselves. And I'll get to that a little later or fairly soon. So when we talked about the body sag, and I talked about getting down to earth, what came up for me in that class was I really appreciated how corporeal we are. We are so body. Our body is such a big deal for us. And it's funny that that's the very thing we don't want to look at as we get older. You know, why? Because we're always comparing it to standards. So when we were younger, that was okay. You know, am I thin enough? Yeah. Do I have the curves in the right place? Yeah. Do I have my muscles the way what's his name, Tom Cruise has them or wherever? Yeah. Do I? Oh, so I'll do it. I'm okay. I'm okay. And then as we get older, we don't want to do that. How many of us like our faces when they don't fit certain standards? And you know, the good news is we really don't meet any standards anymore. Really. You know, there really aren't standards for what older people look like. Do you notice how many models do you see our age? You know, we see some actors, way fewer female actors our age, way fewer. You know, in any kind of big roles. So the nice thing is we don't have any more role models. We don't have any more standards. So we're free to just be us. I call that good news. I call that good news. So can we finally let all that go and just see our faces, our bodies as they are? Can I say that this is the body and face of a woman who's had 75 years of lived experience, which is showing all over her face? This is the movie called Eve. Take a look. Here. Now you can see me even better. Or not so necessarily better, because reading glasses, or I was telling Geoff my problems with seeing from up close, are now part of my face some of the time. Yeah, so this is it. This is it. I am the experience. You see, that's what hit me when I was preparing for this. When you think of experience in life, think about it's not rational, I know that, but very often there's a sense of, well, there's me, and then there's experience happening. You know, that I had this marriage, I had that marriage, I was in that office, I lived over here, I had this, and it's as if it's landscape and not me. The funny thing is that our face shows this. Yeah, it is me. Your experience is you. It is not separate from you, and mine isn't separate from me. And if you don't believe me, look at your face. That face don't lie. You are your experience, just like I am mine. There's no gap there. There never was, but maybe we didn't see it so clearly. Now we see it. Yeah. There's a very, very famous koan that even people who don't get close to koans have heard of, which is, what was your face before your parents were born? So before you were even an idea in their mind, before they came together, way before that, what was your face? Now, that koan, for people who work on it, is that really kind of pushes us to come to contact, to come in touch with the essence, with our essence, okay? But please notice, we are not aging in some generic way. Our culture kind of makes it sound, he's an old man. She's an old woman, and we think we know what that means, as if we're all some generic old person. But that's not the case. We're aging in our own individual ways. It reflects my individual life. It helps me answer the question, so who am I? Who have I been? What was my life about? And can I appreciate this exploration? So who was I before I got a name? Before I got all my projections, all my ideas, before my upbringing, before my schooling, before my socialization, before any of that? Who was I? So even as I see that my face is my experience, there's even an essence to that koan throws you to. Geoff's teacher, Shishin Wick, came up with a book on, it's called The Five Ranks, which is also a set of very late koans. And if someone does that kind of training, it's late koans. But this is beautiful. I've always loved that set of koans, and particularly the verses. So here's one verse that I've adored for many years now. An old woman, oversleeping at daybreak, meets the ancient mirror and clearly sees a face that is no other than her own. Don't wander in your head and validate shadows anymore. Here's another translation. An old crone, having just awakened, comes upon an ancient mirror. That which is clearly reflected in front of her face is none other than her own likeness. Don't lose sight of your face again and go chasing your shadows. I love that verse. I guess it's 25 years since I've seen that verse. And then it's funny, Shishin Wake then continues here with a story of Enlightening, which is, it was one of Bernie's favorite stories, and he loved to act it out. So Enlightening is this very handsome man, and he loves to look at himself in the mirror, and life is just whoopee. And then one day, I guess the mirror, something happens, I can't remember. And he doesn't see his head. He doesn't see his head. And you can think of face, not just head. He doesn't see his head. And he thinks, oh my God, my head fell off. I have no head. I have no head. I have no head. And he goes running around and saying, oh my God, I have no head. I have no head. What happened to my head? I have no head. And his friends tell him, of course you have a head. It's right there on you. No, I don't have a head. I looked for it and I can't find it. I can't find it. Where's my head? And finally, because he's thrashing around and going crazy, having a fit, they tie him down and they say, take a couple of breaths, be careful, come on, just sit, relax. And so he's sitting there relaxing, and they say, you see, you have a head. And he says, hmm, hmm, hmm. And then somebody hits him. And he realizes, yeah, I have a head. And I was thinking about this in connection with our face. You know, what's the slap in the face I need for to see my face? And I think of looking at my face in the morning. I say, oh, I don't need a slap, but that's good. I'm not looking at my shadow anymore. I'm looking at me. We get so conditioned not to look at it, really, not to look at it. So now can we look at our face in the mirror and say, this is it. Here it is. And different things come up for us when we look in the mirror. So I'll give you something. So for years, when I grew up, I looked very much like my mother when I was young. Looked so much like her that people would tell us we were sisters, which she loved to hear naturally. I didn't like to hear it. So as I grew up, you know, as I got older, I said to myself, you know, we kind of physically diverged more. And then as we got older, I said, shoot, I sure would like to see her, to look like her again, you know, and I'll show you why. That's my mother. And I think she was about early 70s. And what I wanted those cheekbones. You see, those tall cheekbones that in Western culture we think is so beautiful. I wanted those eyebrows. As I was telling Geoff, I had cataract surgery last year, and I gained a lot of long, far vision, but I lost some short, and so as a result, my eyebrows are a mess. I literally cannot take care of them anymore. I can't tweeze them. I can't do anything because I can't see. In order to see, I have to put on my reading glasses, but then I can't tweeze my eyebrows, you see. So she had beautiful eyebrows. She had an exquisite skin, really as silken as it looks. And she had that. She died at the age of 94. And she, you know, so she had more wrinkles and everything, but it was always very subtle. And even when she was very wrinkly, the skin was so soft. And that kind of color of her cheeks, she retained that till the day she died. Well, I don't have those bones. My face is wider. My eyebrows are Michigana in Japanese. They kind of go their own way. I think I have good skin, but in no way can I tell you that it's as silken and as blemishless as hers. And so when I have looked in the mirror, I said, I don't look like my mother. And then I'm going to show you another of someone who loved to show his face and didn't mind one bit. That's that's Bernie Glassman. And you could see his eyebrows. Now, that was hysterical. Nobody had eyebrows like Bernie, and they were considered, if you know Zen, Bodhidharma eyebrows. Many people really admired that he stood out with those eyebrows. And woe befall a barber who suggested that he could clean out his eyebrows. Bernie practically would jump off the chair and say no. And he had this bandage because he had cancer. And so his nose looked just terrible. I mean, it was just really tough to look at. These big bumps and swelling and, on the bridge all the way from here and all the way down. And I remember once even saying to him, we had gone somewhere, and I said, Bernie, maybe you should cover that up. And he said, what? Lived experience. Here it is. What am I hiding? What am I concealing? So here you see him with a bandage over his nose and then the glasses over that, and he looks ridiculous, and he loved looking ridiculous. He thought it was so cool to look ridiculous. He never hid his face, or as I said 2 weeks ago, he never hid his ailing body. It was like, this is me, this is my lived experience. Here it is. He was showing it. And you could just see the funny gleam in his eye, like, oh, am I shocking you? Do you think it's weird? Oh, so be it. That was my husband, Bernie. Yeah. So that reminds me, because of Bernie, that reminds me. So speaking of how weird he looked, here's James Hillman for the last time talking about something really important. He's talking about eccentricity and all our oddnesses. And his whole sense is that this is a time to be eccentric. This is a time to show all the things that we once might have thought were flaws. There were our idiosyncrasies. That's what makes us weird. This is the time to show our weirdnesses. We don't have to follow any standards of anything here. He's talking about blessing and being blessed, and he says, what one needs blessed are the oddities of character specific to our solitary uniqueness and therefore so hard to bear, precisely because they're just ours and nobody else's. I can bless my own virtues, but I need a well-trained, long-suffering eye to bless the virtues concealed in my vices. And he says, the increasing importance of oddity as we age shifts the idea of character from the center to the edge. He quotes that Emerson used to say that the hero has a character that's immovably centered. And he says, no, the character truest to itself becomes eccentric rather than immovably centered. And isn't it fun to show our eccentricities? Yeah, that's what I'm like. That was Bernie with his weird glasses over the bandage, over the crazy, crazy eyebrows. Yeah, I have the craziest hair. Yeah, that's it. That's who I am. That's what this person is. That's what this life is. Isn't it fun? You see, I find this really. So it started me thinking, so what's eccentric about me? Well, one thing, because I looked at my face in the mirror to prepare, really made a point, I noticed for the first time that there's a lot, of course I have lines, I have crow's feet around my eyes and so on, mouth, but there's a line that goes from here, this edge, all the way to here, right into my scalp, right under my hair. I said, hey, what is that line? I never noticed that before. If it was in the palm of my hand, a palm reader would tell me something about my fortune, but it's right here. It's a line that goes all the way here. Well, isn't that interesting? Then I thought, what else is eccentric about me? Well, I'm such a straight, boring person. When I get up, I always do the same thing. I always scratch my scalp. It's like I have to give myself a scalp massage the minute I get up. I also go to bed like that. And it's not because I have lice in my hair. I just like to do that. It's a nice way of getting up. So I'm constantly, not constantly, but morning and night, I like to scratch my my scalp. Yeah, because I just enjoy it, you know. So it's really fun to start thinking about, we've been so accultured to be the same sturdy, dependable, straight self. Imagine we let it all out. Hey man, if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? Tell me. So, what time is it? Perfect. We're going to do some things. First, I would like you, everyone, to take 12 minutes, take a piece of paper and a pen, and you can either go to where you have a mirror in your bathroom or in the bedroom, or really nice, if you have one of these, handheld mirror. And I want you to look at your face. And you can either look at it from afar, or you can look at it from up close. Everything, do you have the blue caverns under the eyes like I do since practically when I was born? What nose, eyes, the hair, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on in your lips? Are they changing? What's going on here? What's going on? And I think it would be nice if you could write down a couple of things that stand out for you about your face, okay? Or you might just want to have it far out and think, wow, this isn't just my face, a passive face. This is my fully lived experience staring right at me. My life, me, staring at me. I don't want to look at shadows anymore, as that verse said. I want to look at me, at the way I am now. So, and I'm going to give you just a couple of prompts that we'll use also later, and I'll put them in the chat. Here they are. Please make a note. Oh, notice what comes up for you mentally as you do this. Like, is it that you see something you don't like? Really, notice what flashes in your mind. Oh, I wish I didn't have that. Look at that. I don't like this. Look, notice what comes up that you don't like. And notice what happens to your face when you see it, because you might make a face like, even very subtle. So really look at what happens to your face when you see something you don't like. Really look at, have you gotten into a self-disliking mode? Are you fighting? What are you fighting? Because you're fighting yourself. Isn't that weird? You're fighting your life, your lived experience when you go, So really look at what comes up in your head when you're looking at your mirror. Okay? And this is very important exercise. Usually when we think of how we look, it's right here. It's abstract. It's also very lonely, as a friend of mine said to me last night. She said she has Alzheimer's, and I was amazed to hear her say, Eve, when I just am thinking, I feel so lonely. I was really interested. I think she gave me such a teaching when she said that. Yeah, so do that. And again, write down what you see. Oh, and the prompt. Boy, we're getting a lot of people coming into this class a little later. The prompts of this: make a note of what stands out for you and write it down. What comes up for you mentally or emotionally when you look at your face? What expression does your face make when you look at it? Are you fighting your face, fighting yourself? If you were to make up a story of what lies behind the face, what fully lived experience shines from that face, what would it be? So I will put those prompts in chat. What I would like you to do, but you have a sense of it anyway. What I'd like you to do is write them down, and I'm going to give you 12 minutes. So really, make an alarm for 12 minutes. It is 12:38. Come back at 10 minutes to 1, please, okay? And we'll go from there. Thank you. Thank you for all coming back and not getting lost while looking in the mirror. As you may have noticed, this is the opposite of that famous fairy tale, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? What I'll just share briefly, and we'll all have a chance to share, that when I look at the mirror, I find myself smiling. And I haven't figured out whether I smile because I like what I see or I smile to cheer myself up. So we are going to break into small groups for 20 minutes because I want us to come back all together and spend a short time together, all of us. Share with you one last koan. So Geoff, if you could please split us up into groups, and we have 20 minutes, and then we'll come back.
20 minutes, and everybody will get an invitation on your screen. Just click that and it'll let you in. For folks with your cameras off, it might be good to turn your camera on so you can see one another. It looks like we've lost a few people here, but most of the groups should have 4. So here we go. So welcome back, everybody.
Okay, welcome. I hope you have a good time with your faces. I'm looking at you and I have a good time with your faces. It makes me curious about all the life that's manifests through our faces. We have about 10, we have a little more, but I'm going to use 10 minutes to just ask for responses. So we can share now with each other, this whole big group, your experience, whether, already someone, I see Carol in just a minute, just let me give them, what you're thinking about when you look at your face, or basically really anything else, especially those of you who've been here I think we started in early November. Please feel free to, if you want to comment on that. But yeah, let's start with, and you could put up your electronic hand. I think you'll know how to do that. It's under, where is React, right, Geoff? Where is the electronic hand?
Yes, it's down under mine says React.
Right, that's what mine says.
And there's a heart.
Yeah.
Okay, Carolyn, please.
Thank you, Eva. Very briefly, I was interested. I thought, well, I look at myself in the mirror. I do that. And I went and I looked and I realized the only reason I look at myself to see if my dairy allergy has given me a red spot or my coconut allergy or my, I just look to see how I should adjust what I eat for the next day or two. I don't look at me.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Looking for something rather than taking the whole thing in. Huh. Thank you very much for that. I didn't think of that at all. Yeah. Yes, Judy, please.
Well, I just, I noticed that, or it came to my awareness that I forget to look at my eyes. And there's so much going on. And there's such a reflection of, I think, our experience and our souls. And yet I focus more on my face than I do on my eyes. So I just thought that was curious. Because when I look into someone's eyes, I have a completely different experience than when I look at their face. So anyway, that's just my observation.
And eyes are so different, sometimes we look at people's eyes and they're kind of they're not blank, but they're not expressive. Or maybe they're expressive of blankness or something. And then there's some eyes that are, they have this glint. They clearly have this, it's like a spark. They're very, and you can see that engagement, almost like an excitement. I think in that photo of Bernie, you could see that in his that weird eyes behind that. And that's so, you could see, that was so him for anybody who knew him. You couldn't miss it. You couldn't miss it. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, anyone else, please? Please, David.
Hi. I think the most significant thing for me was when I first arrived in front of the mirror, before I was looking closely and thinking, there was this wonderful kind of warm feeling of affection for the person I was seeing, the face I was seeing in the mirror, which didn't sustain itself once I began to look more closely and think about what I was seeing. But that initial kind of curiosity and almost felt like almost a childlike warmth and towards what I was seeing, that really struck me.
That's a wonderful attitude. That kind of, imagine getting up every morning and looking at your face and saying, oh, I'm curious what I look like now. You know, one day has passed and it's left its mark. I'm curious what I look like now. What is my face revealing this morning? Well, like you say, with a lot of curiosity, like you're a kid, you know, and you're looking at like, oh, well, I have a couple of more hairs on my chin, or, you know, whatever. Huh, look at that. Isn't that interesting? That's my life I'm looking at. Wow. Thank you for that, David, and thank you for the song you played before.
Carolyn has her actual hand up. Carolyn?
Okay, so Rachel, Carolyn first and then Rachel. Thank you. Carolyn, please. You should unmute yourself. You're trying.
Okay, sorry. My iPad is very small. So I had an experience some years ago that serves me well still with this, and it's that I had to have a medical procedure, and when I came home, you know, it had propofol. So propofol always, you know, people say, "Oh, you seem so, you know, fine," you know, just hours later. But there's really this not exactly realness about our thoughts and experiences. I came home and I looked in the mirror and I saw myself, but it was really more like I was at a distance. It was probably more of how other people see me than how I usually look at myself in the mirror. And I was startled. And I thought that I looked older, but in that moment, I recognized that it was me. And I said, "Hello, friend." And I had carried that with me. So, like, with this exercise today of really sitting with my face and recognizing that I will tend to put my face into my, you know, kind of like people do with cell phone pictures or something, that I will arrange my face for myself in the mirror and letting all of that guard down. But I was able to say, "Hello, friend." And sometimes in you know, picking up my cell phone as I'm opening up the screen, I'll see my reflection and I'll have that like, oh, wow, she looks old kind of thing. It's like, hello, friend. And I can come back to that. And it's it just helps them relax all of that judgment, and to know that I get to be with this friend as long as I can be. That's all. Thank you.
That's a lot. Thank you. Thank you. And wait a minute. Who now I lost count of who. Oh, Rachel, please.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you for the whole thing. It's been really fabulous. And Carolyn, what a great way to end it. I will not forget that. That was wonderful. So thank you for that. And I think just it makes me want to add something, but I also want to say that I'm just so aware of vulnerability. And we talked about that in our group. And whether it's the vulnerability of how I look or all the other various things, I'm just so aware of that. And this has been a place where that could be shared. And people have just been sort of no holds barred here, which is really nice, right? Including you, Eve. It's really been wonderful. So thank you. So I'm going to quickly tell this story. I have permission to tell it. It came from one of my clients. This young woman had had many miscarriages and she was pregnant with another child, and the child came too soon. I'm going to cut out some of the details. The nurse said, "Do you want to hold the baby?" She said, "Of course." She started saying to the baby, "I'm so glad you're here." I mean, this child was probably weighed a pound or a pound and a half. I mean, the doctor didn't even come to the hospital. And then she handed it to the husband, and back and forth, the two of them, "I'm so glad you're here." And finally, the mother said to the nurse, who was standing in the corner with a toe tag in her hand, "Don't you think we should put this baby on a ventilator? I don't think this baby's going to stop breathing." And that baby is now 30 years old. And it just, it really, it feels it fits with Carolyn's story. I mean, what if we could say to ourselves, "I'm so glad you're here." We can, I can say this to you all now before we get off this thing. "I'm so glad you're here." Like, what if we weren't here together? You know what I mean? So anyway, I just wanted to tell that story. That "I'm so glad you're here" meant the difference between life and death. Yeah. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you're here. I'd like to end. Oh, Geoff, is that your hand up? No, or you have a yellow book in the background. I can't. Okay. I wanted to end with something. I'm grateful to Bob Rosenbaum, who many of you met when we had our session on feelings. And he called my attention to this koan, which is very famous, but he added something that I never got. So I'm grateful to Bob for that. So it's this: attention. Koan starts with the word attention. Or as Rachel said, guess what? Life starts with the word attention. Huh? Without attention, where would that baby be? Huh? So Ungan, the teacher, asked a student, "What does the great compassionate Bodhisattva Kuan Yin, who is the God of compassion, Lord of compassion, do when she uses her manifold hands and eyes?" So I think many of you have seen images of Kuan Yin, and she has lots of arms to do her work of compassion everywhere, lots of hands, lots of eyes. What does she do? Or how does she do her work of serving everybody? How does she do that? And the teacher says, it's like a man who reaches behind him at night to search for his pillow. It's one of the most beautiful things. It's like, just like, you in the middle of the night, you're kind of not comfortable, but you're not fully awake, but you know just what to do. You're kind of moving around the pillow so that it fits your head better. You're not even awake. You're not thinking, "I'm going to move my pillow." No, you do it so naturally. So he was saying, Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion, does her work so naturally. Why? Because whoever she sees around her is her. It's all her. It's not somebody else. It's all her. So just like if she's uncomfortable herself, she might want to fool around with the pillow at night to make herself comfortable. With that same naturalness and directness is how she takes care of other people who are, suffering, not comfortable, whatever she's just taking care of life in that same no separation way. So that's, but now the rest of it, which is a way interesting thing is, the teacher said, I understand. The student said, I understand. The teacher says, what do you understand? The student said, all over the body are hands and eyes. Hands and eyes aren't just these and these and these. They're all over the body, and they're all working towards this. And the teacher says, you really said it. You get 80% of it. 8 out of 10 ain't bad, right? So the student says, well, how about you? How would you put it? And the teacher says, throughout the body are hands and eyes. And it was Bob who pointed out to me, it's not just your hands, or, oh, I'm going to help someone, or I'm going to cook some lunch for my housemate who's disabled in the house, or I'm going to take the dog out and use my legs. No, everything in you, your blood cells, our bones, our cartilage, everything, every muscle, every little blood cell, everything that's coursing through our body, all that is the goddess of compassion working. That's the force of life we are so blessed to be a part of. Really blessed to be a part of, and to continue it, always let it flower, find little places that need more life. But it's our entire aging body that is Kuan Yin. Every single aspect, excluding nothing.